From the NewsChannel 5 network, this is Out and About Today. Sponsored by the Tennessee Performing Arts Center.
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Out and About Today. I'm Pam Wheeler. Our show tonight will focus on the process, responsibility, and commitment of becoming a foster parent in Tennessee. You may not have even realized that you can be a foster parent. Even if you're LGBT, that may be surprising, but you can be. Our guests tonight are Stephen and Todd Shipley, current foster parents approved by the Department of Children's Services. Welcome to the show, Shipleys, Todd and Stephen.
Hi there. Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yes, it was so good talking to you recently about your experience. The whole show is going to be dedicated to the process, and you're going to share some of your stories. You connected with Brent Meredith, one of the other hosts, about coming on the show. And what Brent didn't know at the time was I was also, and my partner, going through the process to become a foster parent. And so we're going to talk about some of this tonight. You all are a little bit ahead of me on the process, but let's first start with getting to know just a little bit about you both. If you'll each give us a short bio.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Stephen Shipley. I'm 36, originally from East Tennessee near Gatlinburg. We've been together, 11 years, married 7 years now. So yeah.
And I'm Todd Shipley. I'm 35. Also originally from East Tennessee, although we didn't meet in East Tennessee until we both kind of moved to the Nashville area. I am a former teacher and still work in education and administration.
Okay. And tell me how becoming a foster parent was even on your radar. I bet it didn't happen at the same time. Tell me how that conversation started and how you both got to the same place on it.
Yeah, I've always wanted kids from a very early age. And growing up in East Tennessee, I had a lot of classmates that were in foster care. So I noticed that through my entire life, I was like, I really want to have kids. I want to be able to give back, provide a safe, stable, loving environment for them. And so about a year or two ago, I started researching, trying to figure out what's the best option. Being a gay person, I thought it was going to be limited resources until I started really digging deep and finding that this is a possibility for our family.
And so was Todd. Todd, were you always on the same page when Stephen started talking about this and doing research?
Definitely not at first. It was something that I never really even considered, to be honest. I just kind of figured that, this is how in the LGBT community you typically don't have children, but you see that more and more now where couples are able to access that and to have that experience. But it took me a while to come around to that aspect, I think.
And I do want to note that we're talking about your experience through DCS. There are a number of agencies that will train you and approve you as a foster parent. Some of those discriminate against gay people. We're highlighting our own experience. So I just want to put that out there in the world. Let's define, through your training, what is a foster parent? Maybe some of our folks are only used to fostering furry animals. So tell us what is by definition a foster parent?
Yeah, to us, it's individuals that can provide a safe, loving, caring, empathetic life for a kid in need. We're responsible for taking care of these kiddos from the beginning when they get in here. And for us, it's really just being there for these kids in a time of need, because we don't know where they're coming from. They can come from very, very bad situations over the course of months or their entire lifetime, or coming straight from being born. I mean, it's just a foster parent is an individual that's there to help provide a stable, loving environment.
And one of the things I think that you have to remember too is that you don't immediately become the only parents to the child. The birth parents are usually still in the picture unless something happens, and can be for quite some time. And the ultimate goal is always to reunite with the family. But you also have to remember that there are other adults and other parents that are also in the picture and hopefully working a plan toward reunification as well.
Right, and it's important to note, and there's going to be some qualifications put up. It's important to note that you can be single, you can be coupled, you can be married. Sometimes I think people don't realize that there is a huge need out there, and you don't have to check one box. So let's talk about the process, the steps in becoming an approved foster parent through DCS. Talk about the very first step. So you know you're interested, you're both on the same page. What happens first?
So really the first thing that you have to do is just reach out and fill out some informational forms and say that you are interested. And there's lots of opportunities to review the qualifications at that point and to get a lot of info about, hey, this isn't a cakewalk. There's a lot of steps to this. Next, they typically give you a call back. Someone from the agency will to again discuss those qualifications and to just discuss some of the minimum requirements of being a foster parent and what all that entails. Next is a informational meeting, which is generally around 2 hours or so, which gives you a very high-level overview of the foster care system and what your role as a foster parent is. And then from there, if you agree to continue, there are a series of classes and that are currently called TN Key that you have to go through. And each of those classes and courses are generally somewhere around 3 to 4 hours long each. They're definitely, and that's spaced out over about a month to a month and a half time frame of when you complete those courses. There's also homework involved with those courses and a number of other steps. Following that, you have to also complete CPR and first aid classes and also do a very intensive home study, which does take some time. And then ultimately, after the home study and once all the signatures happen on the agency side, you receive approval to become a foster parent.
Right. And I think it's important to note, and you hit on it, at the informational meeting, you do an inquiry, you're going to have a call with somebody, you're going to have an informational meeting. There is no obligation at this point. You are learning the lay of the land and figuring out if it's right for you before the classes even start. So I almost feel like anybody out there that is remotely interested should at least take that step. For the classes, I know I was surprised going through them at what you touched on earlier, and that is the goal is to reunite the kids with the family. Mm-hmm. And so the family perhaps will have a role. You are communicating with the family at different times, with other people, social workers. There's a flow of information. Was there anything when you were taking the classes that surprised you, or you weren't expecting anything that felt challenging or you welcomed during that process?
I think going into it, we were both reluctant to how we would be treated going into it. First off, being gay married couple, but it was really intensive. I was going into it thinking, oh, we're going to become foster parents in about 60 days. It's going to go super quick. That was not the case. It is very, very long from start to finish until you get through the home study. So I think the amount of knowledge that they provide is super beneficial, but that was something that I personally did not expect. And it served us well, I think, becoming foster parents, knowing more and more. I wish every parent, that's not foster parents, would go through this. I think every parent could benefit from this.
Yeah, even as a teacher, I had plenty of classes through my college coursework that dealt with similar topics, but this approaches it from a different angle, and a lot of those things, especially about trauma-informed practices and adverse childhood experiences especially. One of the things that jumped out at me in the training was what you mentioned, Pam, was the reunification with the birth family. I honestly, in the process and even in the research, didn't really consider that that was always the end goal. And I didn't have any frame of reference in my head for what that looks like as I was going through that training. And so that's been a learning experience ever since, and continues to be as we walk through this journey as well.
Okay, well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk to the Shipleys about their actual fostering experiences. So don't go away.